and willingness to allow us to conduct business. Before we begin our meeting, I'd like to welcome all of you and thank you again for taking the time to allow us to finish our prior meeting. And I'd like to have introductions starting with our city clerk. And then we'll go around.
Yeah, spread out.
Stephanie Kelly, City Clerk.
Matt Newton, District 5.
Tarek Bakar, District 6.
Good evening, Luana Mayfield, District 3.
Dimple Ajmera, at large.
Bye, Lyles, Mayor.
Braxton Winston at large.
Ed Driggs, District 7.
Good evening, Justin Harlow, District 2.
Good evening, Taiwo Jawab, City Manager's Office and Planning Director.
Tari Hagler Gray, Senior Assistant City Attorney.
If you'll note that we have several vacant seats tonight, I think that this change in weather has been tough on a number of our colleagues, and so they're out tonight. So we will have a few things that we'll be paying more attention to, because I want everyone to be aware of our rules of procedure. In the case of anything to be approved, it requires 6 votes. And so when we have 4 people missing and 7 around the dais, you know that that means that 6 still have to vote. It's not a majority. It's not that we have where as long as you have a majority of those present, it requires that we have 6 votes. So in some cases, we will be looking to make sure that we followed our own rules about that. So with that, I'd like for us to think a moment about what's coming up. Our council does not require or ask that you decide to work with us when we are trying to solemnize our proceedings through prayer or expression of thought. And this evening, I would like to do that before we have our Pledge of Allegiance, which I'd like for everyone to stand as we go through the Pledge of Allegiance. But we're beginning the season of Thanksgiving, and tomorrow is Giving Tuesday in this city. And there are so many people in our city that haven't had the chance to participate in the economy in a way that allows them to have a place that's warm to sleep, that they can go to. Our children have books in their bedrooms and parents to read to them. So tomorrow, through our entire Thanksgiving season, I'd like to ask each of us, as citizens and residents of this community, to think of a way that you can give to those that are less fortunate. To many of our agencies, especially those that deal with homeless children, homeless adults, many of our agencies that provide food and sustenance to those that do not have the ability to have it. So on this time, as we think about what's coming ahead, I'd like for all of us to understand gratitude means not only being grateful for ourselves, but being responsible for allowing others to experience that same opportunity for gratefulness. And as a city, we often do it, but this time, reach a little bit deeper, do a little bit more. So I would appreciate any thoughts that you can give to that. So with that, I'm going to ask us to stand and have our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So tonight is our zoning meeting, a heavily prescribed method that we have to address the issues of land use in our city. So tonight we're going to have applications that have been submitted to the planning staff for review, and there are 2 types of items on our agenda. We have decisions and our hearings. Decisions are cases where we've already had a public hearing. The zoning committee has made a recommendation to the council, and we are voting, and so there's no one signed up to speak during that time. But on the separate items that we have are the hearings, and on our hearings, I hope anyone that wishes to speak has already had an opportunity to come down and sign up with Ms. Kelly. If you haven't, please come down, and I'll keep talking while you're filling out your paperwork. What we have when we have a hearing is that there's a staff presentation on the petition that has been presented. The petitioner and those in favor get 3 minutes to present an argument for the petition, unless we have people that are against the petition sign up to speak. If there is staff opposition or people that, opponents that are signed up, the petitioner gets 10 minutes, those expressing opposition gets 10 minutes, and the petitioner gets a 2-minute rebuttal to either the staff or to the opponents that are signed up. We have tonight on rezoning petition 2019-072, a person signed up against that. On petition 2019-088, again, there is someone in opposition to that. Petition 2019-098, a petition. The one that I'm most concerned about is agenda item 32, petition 2019-106. We have 8 people signed up against that petition, and that is a hearing, so if there are 8 people and 10 minutes, oftentimes we would ask you to coordinate that, so that everybody gets a chance to make the point that they would like to make or to consolidate so that we can do it in a way that meets the time restraint that's required by our process. As a council, we also look at our decision times, and we usually find about 10 or 10:30 that if we haven't gotten to your item, that we would delay that until the next, at another date. And so we'll look at that and see where we stand. I'm encouraged that we can get through the entire agenda tonight. So let's think positive thoughts about being able to finish everything that's on our meeting. At this time, I'd like to actually introduce our zoning committee, which is a committee of appointed citizens that are part of our planning commission, and it's established in a way that they advise us on decisions on the hearings that are being asked for, and they give us their recommendation. This time, I'd like to talk with our zoning committee chair, Sam Spencer, and ask him to introduce his committee.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Council. I am Sam Spencer, Chairman of the Zoning Committee of the Planning Commission. Allow me to introduce my fellow committee members, Cozy Watkins, Philip Ghostman, Victoria Wasake, Boylan McClung, Nancy Wiggins, and John Hamm. The Zoning Committee will meet Tuesday, December 3rd at 5:30 p.m. here at the Government Center. At that meeting, the Zoning Committee will meet to discuss and make recommendations on the petitions that have public hearings tonight. The public is welcome at that meeting, but please note it is not a continuation of the public hearing that is being held here tonight. Prior to that meeting, you are welcome to contact us to provide input. You can find our contact information and information on each petition on the city's website at charlotteplanning.org. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Spencer. With that, when we get our agenda the week prior to tonight, we often find that there are changes that are requested. And so we have several deferrals, and I'm going to read and ask our council to vote to approve the list of deferrals that we have. And these deferrals, do we have to do the decisions and hearings in one motion?
You can do them
We
in
can
one
do it in one motion.
Yes.
So if you came for any of these items that I talk about or hear the number of the petition, feel free to know that you can go home and watch some football or something like that. Okay, the first item for deferral to December 16th, I'm going to read the first 4 items are deferred until December the 16th. The first one is petition 2019-100, Matt Connolly Pike Partners, LLC. Next item is item 11, 2019-071, FH Sunset Road, LLC. The third, 2019-090, Culp Road Materials, deferral. And the last deferral of decisions until the December 16th is 2019-094, Andrew Parker. The next 2 decisions are being deferred to the next Monday meeting of the council, November the 25th. 2019-097, Ardent Acquisitions, and 2019-099, Towns Moser. Those decisions, again, will be heard on November the 25th. The following hearings are being deferred until December the 16th of December 16th, 2019. 2019-035, Novant Health. 2019-0880 Seahawk Partner Holdings, 2019-110 J. Patel, 2019-117 Montana Drive OZ Fund, 2019-069 Harrison Tucker, 2019-111 High Fitness. May I have a motion from the council to
So moved.
Second.
Second.
move and adopt the deferrals? Any discussion on any of them? Hearing no discussions, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, now, that means that we're going to begin with our decisions. Council votes again, and I tell you, it takes 6 approvals to adopt or take action. And we also follow the state requirements that we also approve or adopt the action, the change in zoning, but we also approve the zoning committee statement of consistency that we will have on the screen that you will see, and as well we will see on our monitors. So the first item that I have for a decision is agenda item number 5. Am I on the right page? Let's see. By Hopper Communities for approximately 1.7 acres in District 3 on South Tryon Street. The current zoning is single-family residential, 8 units, and mixed-use development conditional. The proposed zoning is urban residential conditional. The zoning committee and the staff recommend approval of this petition. Do I have a motion to approve the petition and adopt the zoning committee statement of consistency?
Move to approve and adopt.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor, please raise your hands. Any opposed? That's unanimous of our 7. The next item is item number 6, and this is petition number 2019-009 by Joseph Rhodes for approximately 16 acres on the east side of Beatty's Ford Road in District 2. The current zoning is single-family residential and general business, and the proposed zoning is multifamily residential conditional. The zoning committee recommended approval of this petition, and the staff as well, but there have been some changes to the petition that occurred since the zoning committee vote. And so what we do as a council is decide whether or not we should send that back to the zoning committee, or if the changes were did not require a substantial change in the position recommended by the zoning commission. So may I have a motion on a petition for this one that it was not sufficient change, that, or the
Move
staff
not to send
believes?
back.
Mayor,
Yes,
just for the
do I
record-
need to read the whole statement?
Yes, ma'am.
I need to read the entire statement. That the staff believes that the change is minor and does not warrant additional review by the zoning committee. Do I now have a motion?
So moved to not send back. Mayor.
Okay. And that, Mayor, I just wanted to make sure we're reading the change into the
Oh.
record.
Okay, let's read the change. Dave, you're going to have to read the
Changes.
change because I don't think I have it on my slip. Okay.
Commits to providing a clubhouse for the
Yeah,
development.
they committed to providing a clubhouse
Oh,
within
I
the
do
project.
see it. It's right there in front of me. It says, committed to providing a clubhouse for the development. Excuse me.
problem.
Guys, we'll just keep on going here. So that is the change. Is there, we've got a motion and a second not to send it back. All in favor of not sending it back to the zoning committee, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, with that, then, do I have a motion to approve or deny the petition and adopt the zoning committee statement of consistency as appears in our agenda as the council's own?
Move to approve the petition. Second.
We have a
Move to
motion.
approve and adopt.
Right, we have a motion and a second to approve and adopt. Is there any discussion?
Yes, Mayor.
Dr. Harlow, followed by Ms. Ajmira.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I know many council members have gotten some emails, some texts. We've got a petition in front of us here from the community. Many community members are here tonight. Petitioner is also here tonight. This is a petition we had a hearing on back in June. We've deferred this petition 4 or 5 times through the summer and the early part of the fall. I'll be frank, when this petition came to hearing, it was half-baked at the time, in my opinion. It was mentioned at the hearing. We've had a couple community meetings since then, and I commend the community for being involved. at that point to really start, asking the right questions and kind of halting some or slowing down the process a bit to understand what was coming to this part of Beatties Ford Road. There were some requests from the community, some around language around limiting, was this going to be a for sale community or for rent community, and limiting language, including language about short and long-term rentals. I do know the developers that added in bullet point I under architectural standards about limiting long-term rentals to 6 months and below, with the understanding that our legal capacity kind of goes to that extent, and we can't know what a future HOA might do in this development. I know there were other concerns about traffic. Beatties Ford is kind of a parallel to 77 for folks coming out of the northern part of the county. I appreciate the developer adding some improvements along Beatties Ford on their site frontage, not just for turn lanes and for widening of roads, to help couple with what we're trying to make with some city investments around sidewalk improvements. I know that the community's concerns about business and part of this being already zoned for business has not been addressed. There's no business or retail component in this. There were no renderings in the original site plan. We've got 5 site plan amendments and revisions later. We've got some renderings that show some design intent, appreciative of that. There's concern about guest parking. There's always concern about parking in this city. And so therefore, I feel we've kind of tried to find some middle ground here with the community and with the developer. The clubhouse was, in my opinion, the last sticking point. That is the last addition that we just chose not to send back to zoning committee. I've given my commitment to support this petition with that. I know that the community is still unwavering in their lack of support when it comes to this, feeling that there's still some work to be done. I feel that over many, many months, many deferrals, we've sent this back to zoning committee twice already, multiple site plan revisions, that this 128 townhomes, while dense, I think some of this density will help support the need and recruitment for some of the desired retail and commercial use, particularly as this site is just a little bit up from Beatties Ford and Sunset, a large commercial corner. So that's my intent to support it and why I'm recommending approval tonight, understanding that, and I want to be clear, many of you have asked me, the community is not in full support of this at all, and still feels that there's many more conversations to be done. So I just want to put that out there and in the record.
All right, Ms. Ajmera?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I appreciate the work that District Council member has done on this to address the need that a resident had asked for, specifically on Clubhouse. I have a couple of questions on that, David. What is the square footage of that clubhouse? And do we have that information? I didn't see that in our package.
No, there's no commitment on a square footage to the clubhouse. They've just put it, they've committed to construct one. They haven't committed to a square footage. They probably didn't know exactly what size they would potentially build, but they don't have a commitment to an actual size, just that they would construct one.
So that means no commitment in terms of the construction time frame or how it will be used. So none of those details have been provided.
No, and typically we have projects that just say they'll provide an on-site amenity. That could be a pool, it could be a clubhouse with different things that they provide for the community. A lot of it depends on what the product type is they're going to go after, or what their marketing is going to be for that type of project and what type of amenity they may end up with. So they just, again, committed to the clubhouse itself, what's going to be in there and what size, that hasn't been committed to.
Right. I mean, I appreciate the commitment that petitioner has made, and in working with the district council member, I think that's a good step, but I think we need more details on how it will be used. Is it going to be, what amenities will be provided? What is the construction timeline? What is the square footage of that? I think those are some important details that I think we need, at least I need before approving this.
All right, Ms. Mayfield?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. David, question. One of the outstanding issues was the site and building design. We had a note in there to amend the site plan to add the following note: garage doors visible from public or private streets shall minimize the visual impact by providing a setback of 12 to 24 inches from the front wall plane and additional architectural treatments such as translucent windows or projecting elements over the garage door. Why was that rescinded?
I'd have to go and follow up with you and talk to our urban design folks to see if that was something they pulled off as just more of a request and they weren't able to accommodate it based on just the building design type. Typically, architectural standards, we have to be a little bit cautious about how detailed we get on some of those. Even with a conditional plan, they still have to be voluntarily accepted by the applicant. So we can always ask for them. They can also always say that they don't necessarily agree to provide architectural standards even through the conditional process. So that's something that, again, I'd have to provide you a follow-up if we had an opportunity. But at this point, since we're up for decision, I don't have a direct answer from a design standpoint why that was rescinded, other than that may have been something the applicant just couldn't commit to based on the product they were providing.
So, as a general rule, I try to support the council district representatives because they're the ones that's at the meetings. And as Councilmember Dr. Harlow noted, there were a number of concerns that came from residents in the community that all of council received with some very specific concerns in there. The challenge that I have is what I always talk about, and that's impact and intent. Without having some clarifying language, even though they have done a lot. They have addressed everything that staff asked. I've talked to Dr. Harlow. There's been a number of revisions. There's still some concern, and it's difficult for me not to hear the concerns of the residents because we have seen what displacement does. We know that City of Charlotte has language in place, and correct me if I'm wrong, where we can have up to 6 individuals living in a household, and that's considered a family. We know Airbnbs are real. We know that we don't have language really around Airbnbs. We know that we're seeing a lot of transition, and what builds a neighborhood is owner occupancy, because then hopefully you have a tie-in into making sure that community is successful. It will be difficult. I believe that Dr. Harlow may step to the side to reach out to the petitioners to see potentially a deferral. It would be very difficult for me not to hear the concerns of the community that have come, including from a former elected who served on this body as well regarding this petition. It will be hard for me to support this petition as is, and that is acknowledging that a lot of work has been done. But I think we don't always ask not necessarily the right question, but the impactful question as far as what could the potential impact of the neighborhood be if you're not going to identify owner-occupied from the very beginning. If you're going to say that we would commit to a clubhouse, but you don't give the design standards. Is this a clubhouse that has running water, that has a partial kitchen or a kitchen? Is it going to be accessible to the residents for certain hours? What are the requirements? And when we have this precedent, then if we were to move forward, then we open up the door for future projects to come in with very little information, and for them to go back and say, well, on this petition, you didn't require all of that, you just trusted the process. And then if it doesn't happen, we're then future council, not we, because counting down 3 weeks. So future council would then be having that conversation about why wasn't this done. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, Mr. Winston?
We get on these third Mondays, we're supposed to make land use decisions in the best use of land and interest of the community, and not make a decision necessarily just based on the project. Full disclosure, I've never really liked this project. I don't think the first iteration, as it was said, seemed pretty half-baked. I hear the concerns of the neighbors in the neighborhoods, grateful for the organized displaying of your concerns. I think some of these concerns I don't necessarily agree with. One of those things is completely enclosing in a secure gate community. Actually, this is one of the reasons I think I'm probably going to vote against this. I do not think we should be building more dead-end streets along Betty's Ford Road, and this is what this plan calls for. It doesn't provide the type of connectivity that I would want to see. So I think I just can't get over that point of creating another dead end. I think I will be in opposition to this tonight.
All right, Mr. Bakari?
What level of detail do you normally see for amenities inside these plans? Would you see square footage?
It really would depend on the type of project. Some we do see, amenities that get into a little bit more detail, but a lot of times they are very general, that they'll provide an amenity, and a lot of times those amenity packages aren't even decided on by the builder until they know what product they're going to put on the ground, and that then helps to dictate whether they're going to provide a pool or it's going to be tot lots, or really depends on what their marketing strategy is for the product in a lot of cases. So that's why we don't often see as much commitment on that side of a project as we do the actual homes or the actual, buildings themselves. So in this case, I do understand the community had been asking for some things in a little bit more detail, but I think typically what we see would just be that there would be an amenity on site, and that would be, really the gist of what staff would get.
Not out of the ordinary.
No.
Okay, so again, I followed this somewhat closely along the last several months we've been doing it. I think that from what I've seen, this is a bad precedent for us to be setting, which is you've got a district rep who was working really hard to find common ground, negotiating concessions, and goalposts were being moved in that time, and still more concessions were being made. And now we've got that district rep saying he has gotten to a point to support it, and many of us who have not been at that negotiating table, have not spoken to the petitioner and seen that work directly, and have not raised our concerns before tonight to them, are now threatening to derail that. I think it's just a super bad precedent that tells the development community out there, who does give us a lot of concessions a lot of times because we work hard with them in the community to find them. It tells them we're not really open for business, and the last several months of hard work and concessions, that may not actually result in a good faith effort. So I think it's a really bad precedent for us to be setting.
Okay, I think I've heard every speaker. Dr. Harlow? Yes.
Did we miss Newton?
No, this
Oh, he
is
wasn't
it.
speaking. Okay,
No.
good deal. So I know how to count, so I know we don't have 6 votes here. This is, as you mentioned earlier, Mayor, when we have a short team, then the votes matter more a little bit. I will say this to respond, and I appreciate everyone kind of, engaging in this. Often, most of our petitions, the decisions pretty much just fly. And so I do appreciate everyone engaging in this. I think that there are some good points that are raised, right? We know that there have been a lot of commitments that have been made, many of which were brought up by the community. Those were met. We got some specifics, it sounds like, that I think is giving some heartburn to some council members around, particularly around this clubhouse, around its size, its dimensions, its location, how it's programmed, all of those things. I'm not sure how much of that we can demand or whatnot, but I understand that those are concerns. And so I want to do this, Mayor, if I can, if possible, to withdraw the motion. This will not pass. And for those out here, if we took a vote right now, there's not 6 votes to deny it, nor is there 6 votes to approve it, which means this essentially gets deferred. So I just want to withdraw the motion to approve and just move to defer the petition.
Second.
It seems that there's some questions, and I hope that, this will be my parting gift to you all. I hope that you stay engaged over the next month to ask those questions, because they're good to ask. I think the community is deserving of some of those answers. So if I can withdraw that petition, substitute it with the motion to defer, we'll.
The deferral until December the 16th. That was your motion?
Yes.
And you have a second? All in favor of deferral until the 16th of December? Say aye. Aye. Thank you very much. The next petition is 2019-049 by Apollo Holding Company for approximately 9 acres located on the north side of Queen City Drive.
I'm sorry, did we skip 2019-032?
Item number
We
7.
skipped 7.
Yeah,
Oh.
US Development.
Thank you.
32.
We're just trying to move it along a little further. That's right. Okay, we're going to agenda item petition number 2019-032 by U.S. Developments for approximately 14.7 acres on the northwest side of Highway 29 North. It's outside of our city limits. It's currently zoned single-family and multifamily, and the proposed zoning is multifamily conditional for 17 units per acre. The zoning committee and the staff recommends approval, and while Mr. Phipps is not here, he, I think, has worked and feels comfortable with the petition. So is there a motion to approve the
Move to
petition and
approve
adopt the zoning
and
committee
adopt.
statement of consistency?
Move to adopt and approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Now we can get to 2019-049 by Apollo Holding Companies for approximately 9 acres on the north side of Queen City Drive. And it is currently, it's in District 3, residential multifamily is the current zoning for 17 units per acre, and the request is mixed-use development optional. The staff and the zoning commission recommend approval. Is there a motion to approve the petition and adopt the zoning committee statement of consistency?
Move to approve and adopt.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the petition, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? No, we can't have but one anyway. All right, the next item is petition 2019-051 by Joyce N. Green for approximately .6 acres located on the east side of West Sugar Creek at Lynn Lee Circle, and it's in District 2. The current zoning is residential for 3 units per acre. The proposed zoning is institutional conditional. The zoning committee and the staff recommend approval. Is there a motion to approve the petition, adopt the zoning committee statement of consistency?
Move to
As
adopt
assigned.
and approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? Item number 10 is 2019-068 by Blue South, approximately 6 acres located on the east side of China Grove Church Road. It's in District 3. The current zoning is 4 units of residential per acre. The proposed zoning is 8 units of single-family residential per acre. The staff and the zoning committee recommend approval of this petition. Is there a motion to approve the petition and adopt the zoning committee statement of consistency?
Move to approve and adopt.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Yeah.
Ms. Mayfield?
I do want to take the opportunity to thank the petitioner. There was a number of conversations that were held with the Sterling community and the Sterling neighborhood, and the neighborhood president, as well as the residents, did send a letter of support. I hope my colleagues also received it for this petition, but wanted to acknowledge that there was a lot of communication with the residents in the neighborhood for this petition. Thank you.
Okay, here in the comments, is there any further comment? All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Item number 11 is
12.
deferred. Item 12 is our next item, which is petition 2019-078 by Charter Properties for approximately 39 acres on the north side of Johnson Olear Road, and it's in District 4. The current zoning is 3 residential units an acre, and the requested is urban residential conditional. The zoning committee and the staff recommend approval. Is there a motion to adopt the petition and adopt the zoning commission statement?
Adopt and approve.
Second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, the next item is item 13, petition 2019-084 by Lake Mather for approximately 2/10 of an acre located on Greystone Road. It's in District 1. The current zoning is 4 units residential per acre, and the requested zoning is urban residential conditional. The zoning committee and the staff recommend approval of this. And it is, do we have a motion to approve and adopt the zoning committee statement of
and approve.
consistency? We have a motion to approve, adopt,
Second.
and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The next item is petition, item 14, petition 2019-087. and it's for approximately 13 acres located on the west side of Harrisburg Road. It's in District 5. It's single-family residential for 3 units an acre, going to 8 units per acre for single-family residential. The zoning committee and the staff recommend approval of this. Is there a motion to approve the petition and adopt the zoning committee statement of consistency?
Motion to adopt and approve.
Second.
Second.
Okay. All right, any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the next item is 2019-090 by Culp Road Materials.
That item was deferred.
That one's deferred. I had it for changes, so, okay.
Yeah, it originally was, and they deferred even after our meeting this
Okay.
afternoon.
All right, sorry, I didn't cook that up. All right, so that's deferred. Okay, the next item is 16, which is not deferred. Petition 2019-091 by Raymond Adams for approximately 2 acres located on the north side of McLean Road in District 4 from single-family residential 3 units an acre to 6 units an acre. The zoning committee and the staff recommends approval. Is there a motion to approve and adopt the zoning committee?
Adopt and approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The next item, item 17, is deferred until December the 16th. Item 18 is deferred until November the 25th. Item 19 is deferred until November the 25th. So the next item that we have is agenda item number 20, petition 2019-102 by the City of Charlotte. I am not going to read all of the locations. You can see, I hope that at some point you can see, but this is all about our transit-oriented development and how we're rezoning for that. TOD is what we usually call it, and it's approximately 1,071 acres located across the city along the blue line. And the zoning is changing to TOD Urban Center, TOD Neighborhood Center, and TOD Community Centers, and TOD Transit-Oriented Development, transitional. The zoning committee recommends approval. The staff recommends approval of this petition. There is may I have a motion to approve the petition and adopt the zoning committee statement of consistency as
Adopt and approve.
a
Second.
motion to adopt and approve. Is there any discussion?
You have a
I
statement?
have a statement, I just wanted to make sure. Mr. Eggleston is at home and he feels really, really bad. And we encouraged him to stay at home so the rest of us would not feel really, really badly. But he did send a statement in this, and it's a very, he wanted me to be sure to read it. So on behalf of Councilmember Eggleston, his statement. In 1898, Edward Dilworth Latta created what was in essence the first transit-oriented development in Charlotte when the trolley ran down South Boulevard. The new TOD should respect the founder's vision for the integration of transit and residential life in the early streetcar suburbs of Dilworth and Wilmore. Our historic districts are an asset to the city of Charlotte, and it is imperative that we protect them. The 78 demolitions last year in Dilworth alone are raising concerns in the neighborhood for the pressures this rezoning places on the historic districts. The borders of Dilworth and Wilmore will have both TOD and historic district overlays on the same properties. Due to this conflict, it is critical that the historic district overlay supersede the TOD district with respect to size, scale, massing, height, and architectural style. Despite this concern, I am supportive of this TOD rezoning overall and grateful for the tireless work of staff in developing and refining it. I encourage my colleagues to support this petition in my absence, submitted by Larkin Eggleston, for reading at this into the minutes of this meeting. So we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Mr. Winston.
I think Councilmember Eggleston might have got the years off a little bit, but it's around the same decade, you know. I just want to, for folks that are watching out there and have been paying attention to many decisions that we've made in prior weeks and months, this is why we've made changes to things like the street maps, the urban tree ordinance. Those things are culminating here and are hopefully, this is a living document, we'll probably have to make changes and adjustments as we go on, but it's going to create the type of development around our transit lines, like the Blue Line, like the future of the Silver Line, in ways that we want, and really the way that the community deserves transit corridors to be developed. Those things did not happen when the first part of the Blue Line was made, and we are trying to correct that. So this is a very important step, and if you take all the other steps that we've made over these past months, you see a real comprehensive approach and a change to the way land gets developed. And we have to, this is not the end, we have to continue to do this throughout our city. This is a huge rezoning that we're doing right now, but it is still only a very minute part of the overall acreage that we're going to have to consider for in the future of the city. I'm proud to have been part of this work, a small part of this work over the past couple years, and proud to vote yes tonight for this.
All right, Dr. Harlow?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, this is a big step. It really does get us, as we started with approving the actual TOD ordinance, I guess a few months ago, and then now kind of mass rezoning the parcels along the line, is a big step for us. What it does for communities along the Blue Line is that it gives a lot of predictability. Not only does it probably shorten our time in here for rezonings, but it gives predictability, more importantly, to the communities of what to expect in and around these station areas. And with our goals of expanding our transit lines and continuing to build out a full network and a regional network, we'll continue to use, these zoning classifications in and around the even future station areas down the road to continue to provide predictability to neighbors. So often we get community members coming down and telling us about what requests they might want in developments and things around height and architectural standards and design and setbacks. This gives very distinct and detailed detail to those requests, and I think that helps serve the community better. So when petitioners and developers do come in, you kind of have a sense of what already is coming. This is an encouragement also for folks to continue to get involved in our comprehensive planning, even if you're not around a light rail station, because that same type of predictability in design and street network and architecture is coming to all neighborhoods. We want you to know what Charlotte is going to look like for the next 30 to 40 to 50 years. I see our planning director nodding his head. We're taking a mass undertaking here. This is just one, not minor, but a major step in that. But there's more to come. If you haven't heard about our comprehensive plan, 2040 comp plan, that is every parcel in Charlotte we're looking at to say, hey, what do we want to go here if it can be developed? So I'm going to plan on supporting this today. I think this is great work by the staff to get us there. I know we had thousands of people participating across dozens of community engagement sessions. We hope to see that same type of engagement moving forward.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion to adopt the petition and adopt the zoning committee statement, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? With that, we're ready to go to item 21, petition 2019-119 by RKW Builders for approximately 3/10 of an acre on the North Alexander Street. It is in District 1. It is single-family residential with 8 units, conditional, and it is moving to single-family residential 5 units per acre. And we have a zoning committee and a staff recommendation to adopt this. Do we have a motion to adopt and approve the zoning committee statement of consistency?
Adopt and approve.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The last decision that we have this evening is agenda item 22 for petition 2019-122 by Beacon Partners for approximately 39 acres located on the west side of Old Statesville Road. It's in District 2. The current zoning is light industrial conditional, and the proposed zoning is light industrial. The zoning committee and the staff recommend approval of this item. Is there a motion to adopt the petition, approve the petition, and adopt the zoning committee statement of consistency?
Oh, yeah, sorry, it's my last decision. Move to adopt and approve.
Second.
You're welcome for that last decision, right? We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, no, we are not having any discussion, okay. Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, this is the section of our agenda, we now go to the hearings. All decisions are done, but I do want you to know that while we're having the hearings, each council member that's absent will have the opportunity to watch this on Facebook, YouTube, as well pull it up on our city site at any time so that they will be able to hear the petitions. And we've got 2 newly elected members that will be sworn in December. Renee Johnson is here, who is sitting in on these petitions, as well as Victoria Watlington. Renee is in District 4 and Victoria is in District 3, and they join us tonight to go through the hearings that they will eventually support or deny. So, all right, with that, let's see, our first hearing of the night is deferred. Item 23 by Novant is deferred. 29, item 24 is deferred. 25.
It's deferred.
26.
We go to 27.
Yep.
Okay. Item 27 is our first hearing for petition 2018-150 by TDC Greenville for approximately 5.2 acres on the west side of Statesville Avenue in District 2. The current zoning is neighborhood business. The proposed zoning is mixed-use development optional with 5-year vested rights. Staff recommends approval upon resolution of several issues around transportation, land use, and technical revisions. Dave is going to present this to us, and we have 3 speakers signed up to support it: Matt Langston, Ricky Woods, and Anthony Fox. So we'll go ahead and have the staff presentation, and I did not know that Reverend Cannon was called Matt Langston in another, on this sheet.
He's
So
there for moral
Reverend Jerry
support.
Cannon is joining Reverend Ricky Woods, and I don't know what y'all are doing between standing on the side of Anthony Fox except hopefulness. All right, Dave.
All right, thank you, Madam Mayor. Petition 2018-150 is just a little over 5 acres located at Statesville Avenue, as you can see, just between Callahan Street and Oak Lawn Ave. The proposal itself, existing zoning is currently B1. The proposed zoning is a MUD conditional mixed-use development. They are asking for 5-year vested rights. It is something we've asked them to consider removing from the plan, as it may have been a holdover from when it was considered a mixed-use project. But again, we think that's something we can continue to talk through with the petitioner. The adopted future land use, the Central District Plan does recommend retail uses for the site. However, GDP policies do study the site and look at recommendations that consider over 17 dwellings per acre. So there's really, once you get over that 17 DUA, there's not necessarily a cap. It's just make sure the site is designed appropriately and integrates well with the surrounding neighborhoods and community just to get over that 17 DUA. We feel that proposal has done so. We do have residential-only uses allowed within the MUD district, up to 250 units, maximum height of 65 feet, except where there's some height restrictions along Callahan, which you can see really are just right in this front portion where you've got some single-family residences on the other side. Do have some public street construction for parts of the site, architectural standards, internal networks for sidewalks, and then there's some other commitments for lighting, as well as some other sidewalk widths where parked cars may be involved along that new street that's constructed. Staff does recommend approval of the petition upon some resolution of outstanding issues related to transportation, some technical revisions. It is inconsistent with the central plan that recommends retail uses. However, when we look at the petition, the residential units do complement the Camp North End redevelopment, which is just 1 block really northeast along Statesville. Provides that potential residents with opportunities to get to that area for recreation, arts, dining options. GDP does support the density over 17 DUA, does commit to some enhanced architecture, as well as some pedestrian amenities. The conditional notes do recognize the context of the community limiting height in that area of single-family homes along Callahan Street. And it does align with the Central District Plan's policy of providing opportunities for higher density infill in appropriate locations throughout the district. Staff did feel that this was an appropriate location. Please note that it would have revised the adopted future land use of that district plan from retail to residential uses over 22 DUA for the site. And we'll be happy to answer any questions following the petitioner's presentation.
Any questions for the staff before we hear from the petitioner? All right, so Mr. Fox, are you starting us off?
I am. Mayor and members of the council, thank you for being here tonight and to allow us to make this presentation. I'd like to start by thanking staff. Staff, as usual, has been very professional and very patient in working with this rezoning petition. The property location, as staff has indicated, is at the on Statesville Road and Oaklawn Avenue. It is directly across from the North Camp in site, and it is in the Greenville neighborhood. This site is unique. It presented several challenges to a developer, and those challenges included environmental challenges. This is a brownfield site. It is pursuant to a brownfields agreement. You hear a little bit about Diener's requirement or desire that brownfield site be developed in uses that allow and limit the number of people they have to deal with on the agreement, and that played a factor. There are water and sewer extensions. There are road improvements to be made with regards to the site. There's an extension of Polk Street that we would like to maintain as a private street. The city has requested that that be made public at some point. With regards to the current zoning is B1. As you can see, the B1 zoning does allow for a robust use of the site with approximately 155 multifamily units and some commercial units. We're proposing MUD for this, a MUD CD for this site that will go to a 250 dwelling unit count with no commercial to be placed on the site from this rezoning. The rezoning process, you can see, we held a number of community meetings. January of this year, we held a community meeting with the neighbors, and we held a second meeting in September. Those are reflected in the neighborhood reports that have been provided to you, and I'm happy to see that there is no opposition. The proposed rezoning plan is before you, as can be demonstrated from this site. Note that there is no retail. The retail component is not before you tonight, and it's essentially the rear portion of that site. You can see the street infrastructure. There will be a street that will be built. It will be built to, I believe, public street standards that will connect Oaklawn and Statesville Road. We talked a little bit about the MUD zoning. One thing I will add is that there will be a 10% number of the units reserved for workforce housing. I'll stop right there, and there's an elevation of the site. I'm blessed to be between two members of the clergy, Reverend Cannon and Reverend Woods, and I think they're blessing this petition that's before you tonight. Thank you.
All right, you have 9 seconds.
I don't know.
You want to say anything?
Wow.
Say hello, thank you. All right, so now there are questions for the staff or for the petitioner. Dr. Harlow, and then followed by Mr. Driggs.
Thank you. Thank y'all for being here. Yeah, I'm familiar with the site. I know that I think the original plan was to try to add the retail in it. And now we're just doing the residential on the backside. I saw that one of the outstanding items was the planting strips, the sidewalk, 8-foot sidewalk and planting strips. Are we asking the petitioner to do that from Oaklawn and Statesville intersection all the way down to the end of the parcel, Dave? Or is it just, because the retail part is not actually a part of the petition, are we breaking up the sidewalk that way in the request, or are we asking to complete it all the way through?
Yeah, let me defer to or get some info from CDOT on that one.
Felix O'Brien with CDOT. We are requesting for the developer to provide the sidewalk along the frontage of the development.
So just the development, though, not the other part?
Correct.
So I thought we were getting away from this broken up kind of sidewalk.
Actually, I apologize. It's for the entire site.
So it is the entire, okay.
Correct. Sorry
All right,
about
got
that.
it. Just good deal. Thank you.
All right, all right, Mr. Driggs?
Yeah, I think next to last slide kind of went by quickly, but there was some reference to workforce housing. I wonder if you could clarify what that is.
Yeah, the developer has voluntarily committed to the same commitment that this council received from Camp North End, which was a 10% workforce housing commitment. I believe that's 60% AMI on those units.
So deed restricted? With the deed restriction?
Don't know if the deed restriction would. Okay.
Calm down, Bobby. Come on.
You can't,
I'm sorry, it would be 80 to 120% AMI, and he will entertain incorporating that into a deed restriction.
okay, deed restricted, 80 to 120.
Thank you.
Did anyone
Yes,
else?
deed restriction. What was the answer?
He said he would deed restrict the 80 to 120 units. Okay, all right, Mr. Winston?
I'm familiar with the site as well, and I do know that in the middle of it, there's some pretty large mature trees with pretty wide canopies. Is there any possibility for those trees to be preserved or incorporated into plans?
Matt Langston with Landworks Design Group. We've done some preliminary studies of the site. I mean, the proposed site development, site plan that you see there is fairly intense. I think if there's an opportunity to save one of the existing trees, we'll certainly do that. You know, the balance of the site is going to remain B1 zoning, which will be ready for retail development regardless of this zoning, but when we can save trees, we will.
Do we know how old the oldest trees are on that
I
site?
don't know.
You can get it.
All right, we can get that information. Are you asking for it?
Yes, I would like that.
So we'd have to ask the city arborist to go out and give us an estimate on the trees, the age of the trees there. Okay?
So we'll
All
close.
right. Any other comments or questions for the petitioner or the staff? Hearing none, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
Move to close.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, item 28 is deferred. The next petition is petition 2019-072 by Arden Acquisitions for approximately 38 acres located on the north side of Cannon Avenue. It's in District 4. Is currently zoned single-family residential with 4 units per acre, and the requested zoning is urban residential conditional. The staff recommends approval upon resolution of issues around building height, transportation, and environmental issues. In this case, on item 29, we have a speaker against, and so we would have 10 minutes for the petitioner and 10 minutes for the speaker in opposition. And with that, I'd ask Dave to present it to us. And then following, Mr. Carmichael, will you organize the petition? Thank you. And then Ms. Lib Willard. Ms. Willard, are you here? And if you want to come down so that you don't have so far to travel, after the staff petition, you'll be up next, okay? Mr. Patine.
Thank you. As I see Councilmember Hartley, I just would like to thank him for his service. Thank you.
They say good night.
Wait a minute, we get to leave now?
All right.
All right, to get us going back again, 2019-072 is about 38.83 acres, just located on the north side of Cannon Avenue, just a little bit internal from West Sugar Creek Road and north of Interstate 85. Just to give you context of the site, you can see the Interstate, Sugar Creek, run north-south here, or east-west, actually, in Interstate 85, just to the south of the site. Current zoning is R4, single-family residential. The requested zoning is a UR2 conditional. Adopted future land use for the site from the Northeast District Plan does recommend multifamily for the majority of the site. There is a small portion that is still recommended for industrial, so there's a portion of the request that is inconsistent with the adopted area plan, but the majority of the site is zoned for, or recommended for multifamily uses, which this petition proposes. The proposal itself does request up to 350 residential dwelling units, would be a mix of both single-family detached and single-family attached units, or a combination thereof. Building heights are limited to 40 feet. There's 50-foot buffer adjacent to the single-family residential, which would be mainly to the north here. Excuse me. And then we have an 8-foot planting strip and sidewalk along Cannon Avenue, walkways that connect those entrances to the sidewalks internal. Architectural standards, which are fairly typical for projects of this nature. Right-of-way for upgrading streetscape along Cannon Avenue will be dedicated, as well as extending internal local residential streets, and then access to the site via Cannon Avenue and West Sugar Creek Road, as well as some future stub connections to Oneida Road, as well as part of this petition. Staff does recommend approval upon resolution of some outstanding issues related to building height, transportation, and environmental issues. As we said, the petition is consistent for the multifamily portion of the site. There is a small portion that is inconsistent for that industrial piece, but again, it's a very small component of the overall recommendation, and we do recommend approval, and we'll be happy to answer any questions after both the public and petitioner make their presentations.
Thank you, Mr. Patine. We will recognize Mr. Carmichael for 10 minutes since there is opposition to this petition.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Winston, members of council and the zoning committee. I'm John Carmichael here on behalf of the petitioner, Ardent Acquisitions. With me tonight are Tyson Riley of the petitioner and Matt Langston of Landworks Design. As Dave said, the site contains about 38.83 acres located on the north side of Cannon Avenue, just west of the intersection of Cannon Avenue and Equipment Drive, and it's just west of the West Sugar Creek Road I-85 interchange. This is a, sorry guys, aerial of the site. You've got non-residential uses located to the south across Cannon Avenue. You've got non-residential uses to the northwest. You've got single-family uses to the north and some to the east, although I'm going to show you a zoning map in a moment. And then you've got non-residential uses to the southeast. But the site is undeveloped as we speak here, as we are here tonight. This is the parcel that's recommended for industrial uses under the area plan, and this is the parcel. This is about 37.8 acres recommended for multifamily. The site currently zoned R4. To the west, you've got I2 zoning and R4 zoning. To the south, you've got B2 CD and B2 zoning. To this portion of the east, you've got B2 zoning. And then to these three lots here, and then the parcels to the north, you've got R4 zoning. So you've got industrial, single family, business around here, and then you've got R4 to the east and to the north. This is the land use map, multifamily for the vast majority of the site. Once again, industrial recommendation for this 1 acre piece of the site. You've got industrial recommendations to the west, business to the south, business for most of the eastern border, multifamily for the remainder of the eastern border, and then R4 to the north. This is the Northeast District Plan. Requesting that the site be rezoned from R4 to UR2 CD to accommodate up to 326 single-family attached townhome units. We will submit a revised plan that reduces the request from 350 units to 326. It will also eliminate single-family detached as a proposed use, which does help with traffic generation because it doesn't generate as many trips as detached. So the overall density would be about 8.4 units per acre. You will note in the staff analysis that they do state that it's less intense than what would be recommended under the Northeast District Plan. So the site plan I'm going to share with you has not been filed, but it will be filed. This is a much more detailed and specific site plan than what's currently on file. This has been shared with the community. This will be a part of the petitioner's revised rezoning plan that will be filed with the planning staff on Monday, November 25th. Access into the site would be from Cannon and Sugar Creek by way of a new public street connected by the petitioner. The street runs from Cannon all the way to Sugar Creek Road. Also be served by internal private streets and private drives. As Dave said, an 8-foot plane strip and 8-foot sidewalk will be installed along Cannon Avenue. A 50-foot wide Class C buffer would be established along the northern edge of the site. The exterior 40 feet of that buffer would be undisturbed, except that the petitioner could plant supplemental landscaping materials. So the exterior 40 feet would be undisturbed. And you'd also have a 50-foot Class C buffer here at the southwest corner of the site. Mecklenburg County asked the petitioner to convey a minimum 2-acre portion of the site to the county for a future public park. There's a gap in neighborhood parks in this area. The petitioner has worked with the county and has agreed to convey more than 2 acres of the site to the county for the public park. And the public park, it doesn't show up here very well, I apologize. It's the area within the pink line, and I'm tracing it here with the pointer. It just does not show up that well, and I apologize. But that's a plus or minus 5 acres that would be conveyed to the county. The county asked for it. The county would have to officially accept it. We know of no reason why they wouldn't. We have worked through this site plan with Kevin Brickman of Mecklenburg County, and Kevin has approved the site plan with respect to the layout of the future public park. The park would essentially be a passive public park, except there could be a small playground and picnic shelter. The petitioner would construct pedestrian trails on the site, and those pedestrian trails are represented by these white dashed lines. They would be 8-foot wide asphalt trails built to county standards. Whether or not the park accepts that conveyance, the petitioner would construct the trail. So if the public park, this petitioner would still construct the public trails. Approximately 24% of the site would be devoted to tree save, open space, and public park. The maximum height of the townhome units is 40 feet. The petitioner's rezoning plan does contain architectural standards. The plan has undergone an evolution since we first filed it. The density has been decreased from 525 to 425 to 350 and now to 326 units. Another change since we filed was the park conveyance, and then a building along the northern edge of the site has shifted away from the northern edge, been eliminated, and then the design of the layout of the public street is changed on this site plan at the request of CDOT. The planning staff does recommend approval. We appreciate their support. We've had 3 meetings with the community, and then we had a smaller meeting with the residents of Royal Oaks. We certainly appreciate their attendance and participation in the meetings. We're happy to answer any questions, and I think we have a couple folks who would like to speak.
So we have Tyson Reilly, Matt Langston, Molly Wilbanks, and Joseph Margolis. Who's going to speak next?
My name is Molly Wilbanks. I'm the president of the Royal Oaks Neighborhood Association.
No. I was just saying hello.
And Royal Oaks Neighborhood is just right there, the north. You can see my street right there on Pine Drive. And I am speaking personally that I am for the development, but I did have a serious concern with the lack of clarity in the revised site plan that was sent to us on Friday. John Carmichael did speak to that today. And I will say that in the last public meeting, the developers did state that they would be building about 312 to 315 townhomes. So what they said today still feels too dense to me. I have concerns about the density of the townhomes. And then just going back to the clarity.
Molly, are you speaking in favor of the petition?
I am.
You just don't. Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Okay, my apologies. I will say this is my first time doing this, and
It's okay.
learning about the rezoning process is a lot. So
It is.
I just wanted to speak my concern.
We agree
So-
with you there. I just heard
sitting
you
here.
say you were concerned about the density, and that's why I just wanted to make sure that we heard
Right.
you correctly.
I guess, let me just finish with my main point. And, you know, I kind of wrote these notes before I heard what Mr. Carmichael had to say here, but the clarity of the site plan is something that is important to me. As a citizen, we do deserve to have a more concrete way of trusting those who are building our neighborhoods in our city, rather than just a good faith commitment. And the site plan is the only way for us citizens to really know what is going in and to hold the developers to what they say they're going to do. And I basically was coming here today to ask for, to support but also to ask for a more clear and detailed site plan. So, thank you. Oh, I'm sorry, one last thing. Our neighborhood has a number of meetings to learn and understand this process, and I will say that we are not totally unified. Some agree with this, seem to agree with the petition and the development, and some do not. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you. That's not unusual. Joseph, thank you for coming.
Council, I think one of the first times I talked to this particular council was on behalf of Derita. And so I feel as long as the developers are meeting the concerns of Royal Oaks, I want to be in support of this, because this is the type of project that's going to help that downtown Derita become what we all know it can be. The bones are there. We need more rooftops to support the type of things that we want. And I know there are people, there are going to be people who are sad to see the trees go, and because it is a beautiful piece of pristine land, I'm sad to see it go too, if this is approved. That said, I think they've done a really good job of tree save, and ultimately, it's going to, this project is going to help Derita grow the way it needs to grow. We can't have the coffee shop or the places to go. One of the big problems I've heard is from so many people my age and younger is that they have to go somewhere else besides Derita to do the things they want to do. And something like this will put people in our neighborhood who have disposable income to spend, which then will hopefully attract the type of retail and that we hope to have. So thank you for hearing me, and I hope that you will approve this.
Thank you. You got 20 seconds, Mr. Carmichael.
Thank you for your consideration, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Okay, so now we have Ms. Willard. Ms. Willard, you have 10 minutes to,
Take your time.
especially coming down those steps. Hi. If you will give those to Ms. Kelly, she will get them to us, and you won't have to worry about holding them.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening.
Good evening.
In reference to the rezoning petition RP 2019-72, I've provided some information on dry retention ponds. You can look at the site above and see that there's a large amount of dry retention pond on this site. This is an outstanding issue of concern to some members of the Royal Oaks community. The proposed development, as currently planned, would contain 5 of these ponds scattered across the site. The ponds have the potential to require HOA fees above and beyond the standard fee, since they require weekly, monthly, and yearly maintenance. They pose health and environmental hazards, and children may be particularly impacted by the safety issues that come with them. I know that many new developments have these dry retention ponds. However, the large number for this development is indicative that there are too many townhome units. At this point, 320, and that have been proposed for this particular site. This site is totally wooded and has 2 major headwater streams of the Little Sugar Creek, which flows through the heart of Charlotte. While I do not oppose townhomes on this site, I strongly urge you to improve this development only with a significant decrease in the number of units. One such development in Steel Creek, which is almost identical in size and does not contain any streams, was just approved for only 240 townhomes. I've included this information about this in your package. This is the density at Steel Creek that would be much more appropriate for this site in Derita. And in this packet of information, there is research and documents about issues with these dry water ponds because they are not dry. With fast stormwater, they fill up. They do not drain for up to 2 days. There is a housing development targeted towards families with a large number of children. And it's based on the number of units and the rooftops that are filling up this site. And I would like for this council to seriously consider this environmental impact and this use of ponds that are up to 4 acres of this site and contain up to 10% of the property. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We will provide this information to our staff. We have a stormwater control group, but the county has also a stream management group, so we'll get both of those groups to follow up to the report that you've given us for the rezoning on the ponds and how they're used and the streams. So Dave, we've got a number of these documents. Have you got this? We'll make sure you get these.
I'll take a copy of them, thank you.
Okay. All right, with that, questions for, I'm sorry, we have? Rebuttal, sorry, Mr. Carmichael, 2 minutes for rebuttal.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm going to ask Matt Langston to discuss the concerns regarding stormwater.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. With regard to the plans for stormwater detention for this site, we're following the city's stormwater ordinance. I mean, every development has the same criteria. The number of stormwater ponds is driven by watershed. When you have a ridge, part of the water goes this way, part of the water goes that way. You can only divert a small amount of water out of this watershed into that. And, I mean, from a sheer site efficiency standpoint, having one large stormwater pond is more efficient. But what we've shown is based on the landform and based on keeping the water going in the direction that it's going now.
And in terms of the density, I don't have the plan Ms. Willard was referring to. I did review, I think it was around 6.5 units an acre. I'm not positive. I don't want to misstate that. This plan is more dense. Part of the goal of the developer is to have a for-sale product that is in more reach of citizens and have an alternative to townhomes in NODA and other parts of the community that are not as in reach. So the fewer units make that more difficult. But there, as I said, about 23.8% of the site is open space, tree save, and the park. And if the county didn't accept the park, it would still be 23.8%. We're happy to answer questions.
So since Mr. Carmichael talked about how much the units were because of the affordability, is that appropriate to follow up, ask what that range is?
He's voluntarily.
Did you voluntarily
yes.
tell us? You
Yes,
said
ma'am.
you're building at what price point? For sale at what?
This is
price?
Tyson Riley with the petitioner.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. So the price range that we'd be talking about would be first-time home buyer ranging from probably 205 to 250, 260, something in that range.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions for the staff or the developers or the petition or the opponents? Mr. Winston?
Yeah, just for the petitioner, can you go back into the whole conversation, part of the conversation you were having about the county and the parks? To be completely honest, I missed it because I was commenting to my colleague over here about the northwestern portion of this petition. I have concerns just from looking at it. I look to find ways that we can further connect our communities, our neighborhoods. And my concerns for those units that kind of abut the industrial zone right there. I just think of families moving in there, young kids, right? Knowing that area, where are those kids going to go, after school? It's pretty cut off from any kind of amenities, It seems like a situation where when we think about how we're building neighborhoods and developing neighborhoods, for people that grow up, they should be able to have a full life in the places that they call home. But if they go north and west, there's an industrial zone. They go south, they walk into, for lack, almost, the frontage of an interstate. They go east, there isn't much there. What is going to be there so kids aren't just in an environment where they're getting into trouble because there's nothing around their home to serve them?
Well, Councilmember Winston, you missed what I said about the park? Yes. Okay, so to kind of go back in time, the park county asked for at least a minimum 2-acre conveyance of a portion of the site for a neighborhood park, and they issued a letter, and there's a gap in this area for neighborhood parks, and that's the first time I'd ever seen such a request in my 19 years of doing this work. And so, to be honest with you, I've never seen that before. And we went and met with Kevin Brickman with County Park and Rec, and we had 2 meetings with the Park and Recreation Department. And so the results of that meeting were about 5 acres. Can you see it? It's outlined in pink. It's hard to see. It's basically this would be conveyed to the county for a public park. The park would include the trail system you see here in white, and then right here, you can't really see it because the brightness of the light shining on the screen, but there would be a playground and a picnic shelter, a little more active use for that portion of the park. So that's what would happen with the park. Now, they
What is
have
the distance from that northwest corner over to?
to here, do you know?
The distance of the entire trail system is roughly 3,100 lineal feet.
He means from here. You mean from here, Councilmember Winston, to here?
Yeah, so if,
Like if you're living here, how long is that walk?
Gosh, I don't know. 600 feet?
all right.
And so and I want to make sure, the county would have to, Councilmember Winston, they've asked for the conveyance, but in the rezoning process, they don't accept it. They have to go to the county commission, would accept it, but we know of no reason why they wouldn't. And the petitioner would pay for the trail system that would be installed within the park site. The county would pay for the picnic shelter and the playground.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to follow up, when you get that from the county, maintenance of it, as well as the trails and the playground area, making sure we know that they're accepting not only the project, but the maintenance and repairs
Yes,
for
ma'am.
it.
And they would own that property, Madam Mayor, the 280. Okay.
Okay. Ms. Ajmira?
So, in the follow-up report, David, can you also address the question around ponds and maintenance of it? So there are a number of questions that Ms. Willer had asked around ponds and the maintenance of it, and that's, I'll share this with you, but there are a number of questions in that, so I want to make sure that we have those in our follow-up report.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yeah, I believe she's spoke with some of our stormwater folks in the past. Doug, have you? No, okay. I know she's emailed staff quite a few times on some of those items. I don't know if they were just to rezoning or if they got sent to any of the other staff that looks into some of those items. We'll be happy to look at it for a follow-up report and provide that to you guys when we get that back next month.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions? Hearing none, could we have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Motion second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Let's see, our next petition is item 30 for 2019, for 29 acres on the west side of Hood Road. Single-family residential is currently 3 units per acre, and they'd like to go to 8 units per acre. The staff recommends approval. Mr. Patine, if you would start us out. We have no speakers for this. Oh, yes, we have 2 speakers, 1 for and 1 against, for this petition. All right?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. 2019-088 is just under 30 acres, located on Hood Road, just south of Plaza Road Extension. The site itself is currently zoned R3. They're requesting proposed zoning of R8. The adopted future land use from the Rocky River Road Area Plan recommends the site for mixed-use development of up to 100,000 square feet of non-residential uses and up to 8 dwelling units per acre. Plan notes that the mixture of uses can be all residential. This petition is a residential component of that, so generally is consistent with the recommendations and notes in that plan. Even though we're not getting a mix of uses, we are getting residential uses as a component. So the staff does recommend approval of the petition. Again, it is consistent. This is a conventional request. We don't have any site plan or conditional notes for consideration. So I'd be happy to take any questions following the petitioner and public presentations and pick it up from there.
Okay, we have 2 speakers, 1 in favor, Mr. Stringfellow and Ms. Campbell. Ms. Campbell, are you here in the audience? If you want to come down, Mr. Stringfellow, you have 10 minutes, and Ms. Campbell, you have 10 minutes, but you don't have to use it all. Okay.
Well, good evening, Madam Mayor, Council, and Zoning Committee members. It's a pleasure to speak before you before 9 p.m., as I usually seem to be. The property that this rezoning includes is actually 41 acres total. About 15 acres of it is in area that's proposed for greenway and some stream buffers. So there's really only about 26 acres of developable land left. And as David pointed out, the Rocky River Area Plan recommends a land use of 8 homes per acre, and that's what the petition was filed for. However, after some further discussions with Councilman Newton regarding some area residents' concerns and some concessions by the property owner, we're actually reducing the rezoning request to R6 instead of R8, which will reduce the number of homes on the property by about a third. With the greenway dedication area taken out, or including the greenway dedication in the overall property, the actual density, when you figure it all in, of the overall property is only going to be about 4 homes per acre, so it's not a very dense property, even though the petition's for R6. In addition to the greenway dedication, we're currently working with CDOT and NCDOT, having a meeting later on this week with some adjacent property owners to work on a Hood Road improvement plan for the property, for that section of Hood Road right in front of the properties there, as well as to ensure that there's road connections through all coordinated connections and intersections along Hood Road. And I'll turn the rest of my time over to her.
All right, Ms. Campbell. So he's already gone from 8 to 6 units?
Yes, from R8 to R6.
Okay. Ms. Campbell?
Okay. Good evening.
Good evening.
Fair concerns have arisen due to the rezoning period, petition 2019-088 JDSL-CC. Based upon your review, you're stating that the rezoning will correlate with the Rocky River Plan. And from my understanding, this plan hasn't totally been completed. And however, with this rezoning proposal, congestion is my main concern for the said area. This area was originally set up for R3 zoning, and there are presently 2-lane roads on Hood, the Plaza, Robinson Church, and Rocky River. If this rezoning is passed, what alarms me is the congestion we will receive due to the increase in housing. Has the JDSL LLC, along with the council, taken into consideration the actual, not computerized amount of traffic our area will receive? I ask this question because of the congestion of Rocky River Road, and there are only homes in this area which presently has 2 lanes. We have 2 new developments in the plaza, on the plaza. Presently, they only provide the widening of the road for those developments. Unfortunately, congestion has increased, but the width of the road has not. When an accident occurs on the roads, we are stuck in traffic for hours. If the city council does give this a passing vote, I would be inclined to ask the JDSL LLC work with the CDOT by providing financial dollars to ensure our roads are widened for the entire length of the road and not just adding a turning lane. We have all these developers coming to Charlotte making money. Why can't they provide financial dollars for our infrastructure instead of our city raising tax dollars, which will be needed to accommodate all these developments? That is it.
Thank you very much, Ms. Campbell. You have 2 minutes to reply or respond to the opposition.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As I said earlier, we are working with CDOT and NCDOT. In fact, we have a meeting on Wednesday morning with the property owners for the property across the street and the property that's to the northeast that's proposing a tie-in also to Hood Road. My understanding is we'll be working on a joint improvement plan that'll stretch for a long section of Hood Road along there. And again, we're working on connections through to the other neighborhoods to make sure that it's not just all dumped out on Hood Road. And once again, by going to R6, by reducing it from R8 to R6, we're actually going to be a little under 4 units per acre, 4 homes per acre on the overall property.
Okay.
I'd be glad to take any questions.
Do we have any questions for All right, we'll start with Mr. Newton.
So I wanted to thank Mr. Stringfellow for meeting with me, being willing and open to work with me and heed the concerns of the community. Mrs. Campbell's concerns are not new. We hear about the congestion and the increased traffic on Hood Road, Plaza Road Extension, Robinson Church, and Harrisburg Road. I think what's important to note here is that in this instance, this would constitute, the property in the area is a very hot commodity right now. And we're seeing that through a lot of the rezonings that have come in front of this council. This would actually constitute a downzoning compared to what we would otherwise see, which means fewer units. And I think the case could be made significantly fewer units. I would be interested to know a little bit more about how, so what we're hearing right now, Mr. Stringfellow, was that not just R8, but effectively we're looking at something like an R4, which wouldn't be that different from the current zoning at R3.
Well, the current zoning is R3. The overall density on the property, there's a good section along there that the county parks has requested for a greenway dedication. So when you factor all that in, the overall density is about 4 units per acre. And we will be dedicating that area to, the requested area to county parks. And as prior rezoning petition pointed out, I mean, they request it, but then they have to also accept it. But we intend to donate all that section that they requested as greenway.
So not significantly or barely, if at all, different than what we would see by right. Having said that, I would be interested to learn a little bit more about how that would impact traffic entitlements, and I would be interested in following up with you, Ms. Campbell, to talk a little bit more about this as well. That's all I have.
All right, Ms. Ajmira?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So this petition is very close to the Deer Pond plantation that we actually had approved earlier this year or late last year with the Greenway connection. So this actually adds amenity to the neighbors in the area in terms of the Greenway access. And I see this as a plus point for this petition. In addition to to Mr. Newton's point, this does not add a lot of density. And I actually like the plan that's been proposed for this. So, but I do look forward to addressing Ms. Campbell's questions about overall plan for the area, not just specifically for this petition, but overall, what are we doing to invest in that area? So I think in the follow-up report, staff can provide comments on what is overall plan for that area, and that will address Ms. Campbell's questions. Thank you.
All right. Are there any other questions for the staff or the petitioner? Hearing none, all in favor of closing the public hearing, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
So moved.
Okay, so the next petition is item number 31. It is for 8 acres located on the north side of Randolph Road in District 1. Current zoning is single-family, 5 units per acre, and the requested zoning is neighborhood services. Staff recommends approval of this petition. We're going to have the staff give us presentation. We have Mr. McVeigh, if you'll organize the speakers that are for this.
Yes, ma'am.
Is Charlotte Davis here? All right, we'll have you come up after the petitioner. You'll each have 10 minutes. Mr. Patine.
Thank you. 2019-098, just over 8 acres, located just off of Randolph Road, and Sam Drennan. I have Sam Drennan running here, Randolph Road, running in front of the site. This project is sitting just a couple parcels removed from Randolph, and the current zoning is R5. The proposed zoning is for NS Neighborhood Services. The Central District Plan does recommend single and multifamily residential uses as well as greenway recreational uses for the site. So the portion frontage closest to Sam Drennan, is recommended, like we said, for single family, multifamily, and the rest for greenway. So the petition itself is inconsistent with a portion of it and then consistent for another portion where we have the residential component. Overall, the proposal has 2 development areas, both A and B, that would collectively contain up to 12,500 square feet of medical offices, and then 25 attached dwelling units. Those medical offices would be 1 story, while the attached residential would be 40 feet, which is typical height for our residential zoning districts. No less than 40% of those dwelling units will be reserved for buyers who are eligible for House Charlotte. It does propose removal of the existing radio tower on site. If we go back to the aerial, you can kind of see that just right in the middle here. So they are proposing to remove that from the site, as well as for landscape buffers, transportation improvements, including the potential of a shared access drive from Sam Drennan Road, 8-foot multi-use path with a 10-foot access easement to the future Briar Creek Greenway. So that does implement part of the Greenway land use recommendation for this portion of the site, and then multiple architectural standards for both the residential and office component, and dedication of that land to County Parks and Rec for that Greenway improvement. Staff does recommend approval upon resolution of outstanding issues related to environment and site and building design, as well as some transportation revisions. It is consistent overall with the central district plan for portions of the site for the residential units at 8 DUA as well as the Greenway. However, we do have that inconsistency with the adopted plan for that acreage going to an office of medical use. However, it is consistent with the overall context of the area where you do have medical offices within that small area right along Sam Drennan. So even though it's inconsistent with the plan, it's consistent general with the context of some of the existing development that's out there. And approval of this petition will revise that future land use plan from that Greenway and residential to a mix of Greenway uses, as well as some of the office that would be on the site. So need to provide a little update to that land use plan. So be happy to take any questions following the petitioners and public presentation. Go from there. Thank you.
Mr. McVeigh, you have 10 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor, members of City Council, members of the Zoning Committee. I'm Keith McVeigh with Moore Van Allen. Jeff Brown of our firm and I are assisting Flagship LLC, the Flagship Healthcare Properties LLC, with this petition. With me here tonight representing the petitioners Thorne Batchy and Charles Campbell with Flagship, and also Julie Porter with the Housing Partnership. The development of this site is a partnership between Flagship Healthcare Properties and the Housing Partnership. The Housing Partnership will be developing the residential component of the site, the up to 25 townhomes that Dave mentioned. As he mentioned, the 8 acres zoned R5 will be removing the AM/FM antenna that's located on the site. I do want to turn the mic over to Thorne and Julie so they can speak a little bit about their respective companies, and then I'll finish the presentation and we'll be available to answer questions.
All right. Mr. Bakshikcha?
Yeah.
And Ms. Porter.
Thank you. My name is Thorne Bassage. I'm Vice President of Development for Flagship Healthcare Properties. No problem. We are a fully integrated commercial real estate firm, and we focus exclusively on healthcare. We own, lease, manage, and develop properties throughout the whole Southeast, but it's always great to have an opportunity to do a project in our own backyard. One thing these are just this is an example of some representative projects that we've developed in the market. These are not what we intend to put exactly here, but just representative of other Class A office product that we've built recently. I'll let go ahead.
Good evening. I'm Julie Porter. I'm president of the Housing Partnership. The Housing Partnership is celebrating its 30th year anniversary here in Charlotte, providing affordable housing, creating vibrant communities, and providing opportunities for strong futures. The Housing Partnership supports this rezoning effort. The developer, Flagship Healthcare Properties, has donated a portion of the property to our organization to create a for-sale development with up to 25 attached townhome-style units. It is likely, based on current site plans, that 16 to 17 townhomes will ultimately be developed on the site. The Housing Partnership is reserving 40% of the total number of townhomes developed for House Charlotte eligible homebuyers. As a reminder, House Charlotte allows household incomes up to 110% of area median income and has a maximum purchase price of $230,000 for newly constructed homes. This project is located in the Greer Heights neighborhood, and it is facing significant home price increases. Currently, there are 2 other for-profit market rate developers who are developing townhomes in the area. In one case, those townhomes are selling in the upper 300s, and in another, they're selling in the mid to upper 400s. The Housing Partnerships development will allow low and moderate income families to achieve the dream of home ownership and realize the economic opportunities it provides. We've been working closely with the Greer Heights neighborhood and believe that this development reflects their desires to have a mixed income community.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Thorne. Just quickly, just to summarize, 8 acres, proposed zoning will allow the development of a single-story medical office building and parking for adjacent office buildings as well. The townhomes for sale that Ms. Porter mentioned here in development area B. And then access will be from Sam Drennan here, located here. The site has some frontage on Sam Drennan. And then there will be buffers provided adjacent to the existing residential. We do have a letter of support from this adjacent property owner, and as Julie mentioned, we have been in touch with the Greer Heights Neighborhood Association and they're aware of the development. We believe they are generally supportive. We are, as Dave mentioned, dedicating a portion of the site to county parks or Mecklenburg County for a future greenway, and we're also providing a future access to that future greenway from Sam Drennan through the site to that portion of the site. And as Julie mentioned, also 40%, no less than 40% of the units will be eligible for House Charlotte, or set aside for eligibility of House Charlotte. We'd be glad to answer any questions.
All right, we have a speaker in opposition to the petition, and Ms. Davis.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Charlotte Davis. I'm an attorney with Offutt Kerman, a law firm here in town, formerly Horak Talley. And we represent Greenman's Eye Associates, which is an adjacent property owner to this site, and I am here on their behalf. They have a couple concerns, but they wanted to make clear that their concerns are with the commercial part of this and not the affordable housing. They do believe that the affordable housing would be great for the area and the neighborhood. The first concern is a traffic concern related to the entry and exit point for this proposed site. Currently, it hooks onto a driveway that is currently solely used for entry and exit into the Greenman parking lot. And the Greenmans are concerned that there's going to be an uptick in traffic from the commercial property. And certainly if that parking that is around the commercial property is going to be used for adjacent businesses, which I believe the petitioners just mentioned, there's a very narrow entry point there. So there's a bottleneck concern and obviously a backlog of traffic onto Sam Drennan and possibly out onto Randolph, depending on the busyness of the commercial property. And the Greenmans have concerns about their clients getting in and out, their patients getting in and out of their property regarding that, and also for the neighborhood traffic affecting Billingsville Elementary, which is right up the street. And in addition to that, they are concerned that they're, I guess, questioning why the entry and exit point couldn't be adjacent to their entry and exit point as opposed to sharing the very front of it in order to reduce some of those traffic concerns. The second concern that they have is related to water displacement. I see, in the site plan that there's a significant amount for Greenway, but there's a significant amount of water displacement issue already going on in the place where the parking lot is going to be under this proposed plan. And the Greenmans are concerned, of course, about water displacement with that being just a paved lot back there into not only their property, but the single-family homes that surround it, certainly on the back portion of that site plan. And finally, they did want to note that while there may be agreement or approval from one property owner, they have not been contacted by the petitioner, nor have we on their behalf regarding our concerns.
Thank you very much. You have 2 minutes to respond to the concerns expressed by the opposition. It may take a little bit more than 2 minutes, by which I would encourage the two groups to get together to have a conversation about the concerns, okay?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll let Mr. Bassage speak to, or just so quickly. So in terms of access, we are aware of the agreement's concern with access. We have worked very closely with CDOT on the design of this access point to not interfere with the current access point to the Greenman property. They do have an access easement. We have been respectful of that. The petitioner has met with them on several occasions to discuss how that access easement would work, and this design is a result of those meetings to make sure that our access to Sam Drennan is at the right location. It does need to line up with Sandalwood, which is across Sam Drennan, so that's part of the restrictions here. I'll let Brian Crutchfield, our engineer, address the issues of stormwater.
Good evening. I'm Brian Crutchfield with Timmons Group, the civil engineer for Flagship on this project. As you can see on the plan, we've identified a couple of areas for stormwater control measures on this particular property, both adjacent to the residential component and the commercial. We fully intend to comply with the city's post-construction stormwater ordinance, so all impervious areas would be directed to those, treated per requirements, and released free and clear of transporting across the Greenman's property.
Okay. So did you have a couple of seconds left, so unless you have something specific, we'll be glad to.
I guess we will be happy to continue to discuss the access easement with Mr. Greenman to see if there's any modifications that can be made. But again, what we believe has been designed is what will work for the site, and CDOT may be able to also help with that. We did do traffic counts at all the driveways per CDOT's request to make sure, again, the added traffic would not be a negative impact, and they're comfortable with what we've proposed.
Okay, thank you. All right. Any questions for the petitioner or the staff? Mr. Winston.
Just wanted to know how the affordable units would be financed. Would there be any public ask for dollars?
Other than down payment assistance that normally would flow to the customers, there will be no like housing trust fund or CDBG asked for this particular project.
So last week, we had an announcement of an additional $500,000 available to teachers, firefighters, medic folks, as well as police officers. And this is the kind of product that we look very much to having that assistance available. It's up to $30,000. Teachers, police officers, firefighters, and medic personnel. We would encourage you to think about this kind of opportunity and support. We want to have home ownership in our neighborhoods as much as possible, and this additional amount from the Federal Home Loan Advisory Bank in Atlanta will make a huge difference in doing that.
I just want to add, it always is encouraging to hear the public, businesses, private businesses, and philanthropic groups and nonprofits coming together to figure out market solutions to this problem. It can be done. So, I swear 2 years ago when we were running for this, people were saying that this can't be done. So it's always encouraging to find creative solutions. And with that, I make a move to close the public
I
hearing.
have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
You guys get together and so we know what's going on, or you guys know what's going on. All right, the next item on our agenda is petition number 32. Again, this is the petition that we have 8 people signed up to speak against, and 6 people signed up to speak for. So I'm hoping that Keith, would you organize this? And I don't know who might be in the against group, but if you guys can think about that. So this is petition 2019-106 by Darren Vincent in District 4. The current zoning's neighborhood services, and a requested is neighborhood services site plan amendments. The staff recommends approval of this. So, Mr. Pateen, go for it.
All right, thank you. 2019-106, 0.89 acres, on Drywood Court, north of Mallard Creek, south of Prosperity Church. just to give you an idea of some of the existing uses, we have a Dunkin' Donuts, gas station, Bank of America Financial Center, some other commercial uses, both within the site and surrounding the site. The existing zoning, as we mentioned, was neighborhood services. This is a site plan amendment to that neighborhood services plan that's in place. The University Research Park area plan from 2010 does recommend office and/or retail uses for the site. So the proposal itself, that site plan amendment, would amend the plan that was in place, limited to retail and restaurant uses for this parcel. So we would look to add an additional EDEE use on this parcel, eating, drinking, entertainment establishment, would provide for additional ramp for improved handicap access across Drywood Court, 6,000 square feet of retail space. It does prohibit drive-through windows, architectural standards, and limits external lighting, and then a max building height of 40 feet. Staff does recommend approval upon some technical revisions that need to be addressed on the site plan for transportation, really the timing of improvements. It is consistent with the University Research Park area plan, and again, the petition does cover a portion of larger existing commercial development. The plan does note that the location between residential communities and University Research Park, the area should continue to grow and serve the community. The NS district is provided to provide uses that directly serve the neighborhood, and the area high visibility provides easy access from Mallard Creek Church Road and lends itself to this type of retail, office, and service uses. And then the petition's ban on drive-through uses does respect the community's wishes and increases the walkability for the area. So again, staff does recommend approval, and we'll be happy to take any questions following the presentations.
All right, Mr. McVeigh.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Councils, members of the Zoning Committee. Keith McVeigh with Moore Van Allen, assisting Red of North Carolina LLC, the petitioner for this site. With me tonight representing the petitioners Darren Vincent and Michelle Vincent. They're the owners and operators of Red 28. As Dave mentioned, slightly under an acre, currently zoned NS. This is a NS site plan amendment to add retail and restaurant uses to the previously approved plan for the site. It would limit the square footage to 6,000 square feet. We will be submitting a revised plan to Dave to address the one outstanding issue. Again, a simple request to really add restaurant uses and retail uses to the site. I think there has been some misunderstanding about the type of restaurant this is. This is a unique restaurant that offers some different type of I'm trying to lose my words there, but it's a different type
cuisine. Is that what you're looking for? Unique cuisine, right?
A unique atmosphere that's friendly and some differing offerings that other restaurants in the area don't have. I'm going to turn it over to Darren and Michelle, and there's several other speakers also in favor to give you a little bit more idea of what Red 28 does. Go ahead, Darren.
All right, thank you.
Thank y'all for your time. I know it's been a long night. Trying to make it as fast as possible. My name is Darren Vincent. I started this almost 18 years ago in NODA as a bookstore owner. And since then, we added the bar, we added food, and we still kept our books. And what I think a lot of people oppose is we also offer hookahs. We have herbal hookahs. The thing is, I do understand everybody's concerns. I know some people are very passionate about what this hookah thing is all about. We do everything with city regulations. With this new spot that we want over on Drywood, there are some major changes that we are doing. And the reason why we want this move is because we're expanding our kitchen. We're actually reducing our area for hookah use. So if you're not into hookah and you don't want to do it, you won't smell it, you won't see it. It's in another whole room, another whole space. We're also expanding our jobs, and we want to create a space that's more speakeasy, where we have really quaint events, and we do really, like we do karaoke, of course. We have a lot of celebrity appearances. So that's, the main reason why we want this move. But Red 28th, on a quick note, it's a social environment. Over 24% of our clientele come there almost 5 to 7 days a week. And that's not exaggerating. It's a family. And we've been doing it for many years, and anyways, move on. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Vincent? And
Hi, and I'll be quick as well. It's actually really hard to sum up what a great
your
place.
name, if you tell us your name.
Michelle Vincent.
Michelle Vincent, thank you.
It's very hard to sum up how great of an establishment this place is in such a short amount of time. You see professors and students from UNCC coming over there to do their work during the day. There are networking events. We promote young entrepreneurs. It is a really great environment, very diverse, welcoming for everybody. We have discussion groups ranging from politics to relationships.
Aren't those the same thing?
Pretty much. But, it just welcomes a very large group of people. It's great for the community. It's great for the people of Charlotte. And we also, have over 30 employees that are on our payroll that they're like family. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening. I'm Davita Jackson. I want to say hi to Mayor Lyles and City Council for this opportunity to speak on behalf on Red at 28th. I see some familiar faces out there. For those that know me, I'm a local advocate, and the owner, Jazz, is not kidding. I'm there 3 times a week. It's a safe space, safe haven for me. Community events. I do like the hookah aspect, but hookah is not harmful. And again, with that new building, it'll be in a separate situation, separate area, so you won't have to deal with that. It's more about employing and empowering the community, and as Charlotte is changing and people are trying to find safe spaces to go, I think this is something the community really, really needs, especially in that area, especially for young folks. The age demographics, believe it or not, are between 20 to 45. You'll see 50-year-olds in there. We're doing our work. We work from home. It's a little bit of a co-working space. So many advantages for the community. So again, my name is Davita Jackson, and just advocating on behalf of Red at 28th and the importance of this establishment to our community over 10 years in our community. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Alan Simmons. I have been visiting Red for the past 6 years. I moved from Virginia. I'm a United States Marine Corps veteran, and when I came to Charlotte and I did not know anyone in Charlotte, I came to Red and I met all of my network. So everyone that I know in Charlotte has been because of Red, and I just published my book, and it's because of Jazz and his mentorship and the culturally inclusive environment that is at Red. And when I go there, it's more so about networking, and it's more so about meeting people and becoming greater. I've become a better man in the community as well, having a nonprofit that helps out, because of Red at 28. So I am for Red, and I am for what Red is about, and I think that a lot of other people can speak for that as well. Thank you.
Congratulations on a book.
Again, as I'm quickly, proposed NS site plan amendment, no drive-through uses up to 6,000 square feet. Will respect and maintain the previous setbacks and yards that were part of the original petition. We're happy to answer any questions.
All right, so we have the opposition. Let's see, Mr. Baker, are you going to lead us off?
I am.
All right.
So good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Richmond Baker, and I'm representing the Mallard Creek Initiative Group, which is basically a group of communities in the University City area. I'm here to speak in opposition to this particular petition. So about 10 to 15 residents met with the petitioner several months ago to hear their plans for the area, as we are excited to have meaningful development in that spot, considering it's partially built out. Initially, the petitioner described an experience similar to Amelie's. Everybody knows what Amelie's French bakery is.
Amelie's.
Yep, Amelie's, yeah, if I'm saying it wrong. Yep. And, everybody loves that. But several of our residents kind of did their homework, and they started pressing the owner on the hookah aspect of it, because he didn't mention it to us at all until we kind of pressed him on it. And we also did more of our homework by looking up the history of that location that they currently have. So currently, they have a place about 2 miles away from this location. We are still not clear on why they're trying to move 2 miles into a more residential area. So we would really love to understand that a little bit better. But we are very concerned with the amount of crime generated from that particular location in the form of fights, ending with, I think it was 4 to 5 people being stabbed right outside of the establishment, and guns being fired as well. As well as the amount of DWIs and DUIs that are being given out to the folks leaving that place at 2 a.m. Basically, the police have set up DUI checkpoints in the parking lot of this facility, of the current location, which is 2 miles away. So during the conversation, the petitioner was less than forthcoming about the hookah aspect of the bar and also the crime aspect of the bar that they currently have. The petitioner was also less than forthcoming about the negative effects of hookah. I've heard several of them say that it's not bad for you. All you got to do is go to the CDC's website, type in hookah. It'll tell you exactly how bad it is for you. I'm also concerned, and some of our residents are also concerned about just how it targets relatively young people. They said 20 to whatever. I think the bar allows 18-year-olds to kind of go there. And a lot of these hookah flavors, they're kid-friendly, right? And I'm not saying that little kids will be there, but we're not really supporting that necessarily. The petitioner did not provide a clear reason as to why they are moving 2 miles further into a residential area. They did state that they do get a lot of their customers from the college. We really do believe that a facility such as this should be located in a place that is more conductive to having nightlife, because this is really a nightlife type of a thing. And we're thinking more of the downtown University City area, really closer to the Blue Line, closer to the college, is where something like this belongs, not deeper into the Mallard Creek area, which is where they want to move it. And another thing that we are not real clear on, so this is the only drawing that we've ever seen of what they're planning on doing. They're like, yeah, there's this plot of dirt. We want to put a building there. We don't know what it's going to look like. We don't know if it's going to have proper ventilation. There's residential, so there are apartments directly across the street from where they want to put it. The place where they have it right now, there are no apartments very close by. We don't know what's going to happen if this is approved, what's going to happen to air quality in that area. I know that places, every once in a while I go to cigar bars and things of that nature, they're required to have special ventilation. I don't know if this is going to be required for this particular location. We are very interested in this because, again, it's across from the housing, and we're concerned about our residents and their air quality. We do not feel that this will be the highest and best use of the land, and it is not a good location for a hookah bar. We're asking that you reject this particular petition. And I don't know if you guys wanted to add something to it.
You have about 5 minutes left.
Hi, I'm Janice Wilson. I am a homeowner and parent in Culvert Park, which is just south of this area, walking distance, really. I have friends who enjoy hookahs, and I have no problem with the entrepreneurship aspect of him wanting to open a business like that. I don't feel that this is the area. This is a community of neighborhoods, families, and hookah bars find success, even restaurants just having hookahs. I don't want to just call them hookah bars. Are where entertainment venues are, or where nightlife exists. In fact, the University City Walk is we're looking forward to the expansion of that, and I think it could host a number of locations for a restaurant such as this. But to be so close to residential, families, schools, Mallard Creek Elementary, I'm just south of this apartment complex that they're in front of. Mallard Creek Elementary School is my backyard, literally. It's just not the right location. And the doctor's offices that are there, the Harris Teeter that's there, and looking forward to, we have pharmacies, and we used to have a wonderful Whole Foods market. Prosperity Church Partners, that's a new group I've been introduced to. They're building a park just down the street off Prosperity Church. It's just not a speakeasy bar area. And I am familiar where their current location is. I'm here because of the story that was in the news this weekend about the unfortunate events that took place. It just kind of said, look, if I'm going to say something, I better say it and stop waiting for you guys to show up on my news and then want to be mad about it. But I would certainly support them in a more appropriate part of our area. We have North Lake Mall to the west. We have the city centers there to the east, and north of that, we have Birkdale Crossing. There's just a lot of other places that this would be more appropriate.
Okay. You have about 3 minutes left, so.
I'll be quick. Roy Kellerman. I lived on the corner of Pinewood Lane and Prosperity Church Road and Briarwood Court. My land circles all around. But I've been there since early 1964, and I've been there a long time, a lot of changes, and we have a great neighborhood. I helped develop that land with Dave Campbell, and we were promised by the years ago that would be an office spot for just an office building. And we have a great Indian restaurant right there. They close early in the afternoons, family style, family restaurant. And this is just open 2 a.m. Music, belly dancing. They're going to have it all there. But they also say they're going to have a portion of it for family. So part of it's going to be just for children, family. The other half of it's going to be for the hookah bar. But I am very much against this. I know we've been there a long time, and I want to spend a few more years. I got a big garden, raised a lot of food, and enjoy the outside. I don't want to see spotlights, helicopters flying over my house at night. So thank you very much. Help me out.
Thank you, Mr. Kinnaman. Yes, if you just give us your name.
Good evening. My name is Brahma Uputuri, and we actually have we are next door neighbors there. We run children activities there, taekwondos.
Where are you?
The very next door of that project where he's building it, it's part of the neighborhood. We are still part of the neighborhood. Very next door, we have children activities there every day, taekwondos, after school daycare, summer camps, and we really don't want a place like hookah bar where this will definitely put the children under stress, and the parents would probably take the children away from there. And the neighborhood covenants prevent from such business to be established there. The petitioner did not do any due diligence, look at the neighborhood covenants. Now what happens is if this were to be approved, the neighborhood covenants would come into the place, and then this will end up in court, wasting a lot of public money and court's time, because this will end up there if this were to be approved here. Thank you.
Thank you. You have about a minute left. Does anyone else want to add anything for a minute?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you all council members. I guess everybody has said enough, but I would ask you
Tell me
guys.
your name again now. Let me make sure.
My name is Ash Ganatra.
Okay.
I'm a neighborhood store also. And all I would ask you guys, just before you do anything about this, go ahead and search on a Red 28 what it is. Look at the pictures on the website. It's not restaurant. It's not a restaurant. It's a hookah bar. It's taking our kids' safety away. That's mostly the safety issue for this issue. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The 2 minutes?
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to emphasize that this site is already zoned for commercial uses. There are a number of commercial uses surrounding the site, as was mentioned, restaurants, gas stations, restaurants here, Bojangles here, there is a bank here, gas station here, more commercial here, office here. We do have multifamily across the street. This is a restaurant within an enclosed building. We'll follow all regulations in terms of fumes and vapors. Hookah is an option. It's not a requirement when you come to the restaurant. It's an option. It's a unique offering that makes this a different atmosphere. There was one incident at Jazz's other facility on Mallard Creek Road. That was close to 3 years ago. It was an unfortunate incident. There are other restaurants at that same location that also have stay open late. Some of those incidents may have been as a result of that. Again, one incident in how many years?
Almost 18.
In 18 years does not make this an unsafe environment or unsafe establishment. The reason for the move, and Vincent and Darren can explain this, is his lease is up at his current facility. He needs to find a new location. That's why this location is being looked at.
Yeah, I'll be quick. We did take out a loan for that land about a year ago, and a bank came and offered us a great opportunity, which we thought was what we think is a really great opportunity, and to move up street and expand our brand. That was one incident. There are other people like Wild Wings that stay open at 2 o'clock in the morning. Because sometimes on a Friday it might be more African American, of course, it's easy to point the finger, but it's not like that. It's a safe haven place. And we opening actually in Greenville, South Carolina this coming weekend. It's a restaurant. We're using the same model, a small room where you can actually use hookahs at, just so that people who don't use hookahs can still come and enjoy themselves and not worry about the whole hookah experience.
Thank you. We have strict
I'm sorry,
rules on
okay.
zoning. Anything else that you'd like to get to us? Mr. McVeigh knows how to reach out. Anything that you wanted to send to us, let us know. You can reach it through sending it to the clerk's office, okay? All right, so are there questions for the staff or the petitioner or the opponents?
I have questions.
Ms. Ajmera?
So this question is for staff. Can we get a report from CMPD on the crime report for this specific facility where it's currently located?
One.
Yeah, we can provide that.
Existing one as well as
Yeah,
the new one.
existing one where it's located right now.
Yes, we can
And the
provide
ones
that in a
where,
follow-up
and
report.
it's where the crime is located, where they're planning on going, both.
Yeah.
Right, and I guess specific report if that was related to the business itself.
Yes. Yeah, we can provide that again in a follow-up report. We'll have to coordinate with our partners at CMP to get some of that information.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
I had a few questions, but I'll ask offline.
Thank you for not sharing them with us.
We've identified
Yeah.
that Screech from Saved by the Bell is booked.
J.J. Walker, Kid Dynamite.
They will be coming to the old location. We just had some follow-up questions on that.
That is way before.
J.J. Walker.
Okay. All right, our next item is item 32. Oh, no, I'm sorry, that was where we were, sorry. Let's go. We're going to item 33.
33.
Albemarle Road Partners, Mr. Patine for this 1.2 acres in District 5. What are we, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Maine.
All right, so the site is on Albemarle Road. You see that running across the site there, and it is 1.2 acres. And right across the street in the location is the Target and Lowe's, just to give you a sort of a sense of where these are. Bank branch here, and then there is O'Reilly's Auto Parts. There is a Zaxby's and a mattress firm lined up there. And this is for the parcel just next to that. It was part of a 1992 rezoning for a garden center, and it is proposed now for neighborhood services to provide a location for retail uses, including drive-through restaurants and such as that. The current zoning, again, is B1 conditional. And that's the same zoning for the other sites along here, but it's very specific now, so it is proposed for an NS zoning district at this time. The adopted future land use here from the East District Plan from about a little before that time was for residential. It was rezoned in '92, and so it has been zoned for commercial. It still has, I believe, a house on it at this point. The proposal is for a single principal building that will allow all uses in the district, including, as I say, a drive-through kind of a restaurant. It does provide for an outdoor patio. It also provides for joint access, as you can see on the site plan here, to those other parcels that are all interconnected beyond there as well. It also does provide for a multi-use path and planting strip along the front. There are architectural design standards as well, and lighting would be capped. Staff is recommending an approval of this particular. There are still some outstanding transportation issues related to that interconnected parking lot situation. These other three are all served by a single driveway in and out, and this proposes one more driveway, so we're looking for either a relocation to a little bit further away or else just relying upon the single connection. Other than that, it is consistent with the retail use for the area. It is consistent with the other retail along the area and does align with what has been evolving in that area. And by meeting the requirements, it will be consistent with whatever is there. It also is the last portion of that little strip of land, so it will essentially finish out the retail portion of this particular area. And that's our presentation.
All right, Mr. Carmichael, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council and the zoning committee. I'm John Carmichael here on behalf of the petitioner, Albemarle Road Partners. Mr. Jeff Watson with the petitioners with me. Kent did a very thorough job of going through the site plan and the request. Once again, it is zoned, as we sit here tonight, B1CD. It was part of a couple properties that were zoned for a garden center. Garden center was never constructed. The site is next to O'Reilly's Auto Parts, and you got a Zaxby's and a couple other commercial uses to the east, and then a power center to the south. The request is to rezone it to allow a single building that can contain up to 4,700 square feet. All uses allowed in neighborhood services. And we're happy to answer any questions. There are some transportation issues that are Mr. Watson's working with CDOT and NCDOT on, and we hope to have those resolved in a timely fashion.
All right, are there any questions for petitioner?
Motion to close.
I second. I'll just say that it seems like the last remnants of one of my favorite garden stores that was once in this location.
It was a great
hurts to
store.
see it go, but.
It was a really good store.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to close and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Thank you all.
All right, thank you. The next petition is 34, 2019-108 for 13 acres on Neal Road, and Mr. Maine.
Well, this is right now zoned R3 single family. Again, it's 13 acres. And it's sort of an odd location because it's on Neal Road and IBM Drive, sort of. It is sort of surrounded on all sides by other property that is owned by IBM. With a relatively small connection point that actually makes it out onto Neal Road. You can see it is a big treed area as a part of a larger treed area. Across the street, across Neal Road, is a big school complex. There's also residential that was built in what was part of the overall industrial park at one point, but was rezoned for residential. And this is again proposed for residential. It's going proposed to go from R3 to R8 multifamily and a conditional. And the Northeast District Plan originally, or does recommend residential at up to 4 units per acre. The general development policies do support an increase in density up to 8 units per acre. What is proposed is 92 duplex, triplex, and/or attached, essentially townhouse dwelling units. There is essentially one way in at this location where it does actually meet the street. 5% of the units are proposed for affordable housing, which I believe the applicant will tell you about. Sidewalk is proposed along Neal Road. There are architectural standards provided. Walkways and connections are provided for as well. And in addition, we have asked for and gotten stub streets in all directions so that if and when the rest of this property does develop, that it will have some kind of connectivity in the future. We do recommend approval upon resolution of a few outstanding issues. It is inconsistent with the plan in terms of the 4 units per acre, but the general development policies do support this density. So they are providing the kinds of pedestrian environments that are appropriate. There is a school there, there are apartments there, so it is served by other services as well. The approval will revise the adopted future land use from 4 units per acre to 8 units per acre.
All right. And would you're Mr., help me here.
Mr. Schaefer.
Schaefer.
Yeah.
We have Mr. Scruggs and Mr. Brock. Are you going to represent the group?
Well,
So
that's
you have
correct.
3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Ty Schaefer, thank you for your time, Madam Mayor, council members, zoning committee members. We represent the petitioner, JS and Associates, Inc. James Scruggs is here this evening for the petitioner. Colin Brock with Block Design is here. They're the civil engineers and landscape architects on the project. Kent gave a great overview, and in the interest of time, we'll move quickly here. The handful of outstanding issues relate to transportation. The applicant will be working on those with CDOT in the coming days. A little over 13 acres currently zoned R3. The request is that it be rezoned to the R8 multifamily conditional zoning district. Would contain up to 92 duplex, triplex, and townhome units. The density would be right about at 7 units per acre. The current mix proposed would be 63 townhomes, 20 duplex, 9 triplex units. The petitioner is committing to reserve a minimum of 5% of the units on the site for buyers at or below 80% of AMI, proposing to do that through 15-year deed restrictions. They're talking with the appropriate folks about that process now. Happy to answer any questions you have about the project or the site. Thank you.
All right. I'm sorry, Mr. Bakari.
Was there any public money coming in for that, or is that all?
I'm sorry, is there what?
Yeah, I'm not aware of any.
Public money.
For the affordable housing?
Correct.
Public money.
Is there public money in the affordable housing?
No.
Thank you.
All right. I guess that's, if lightning strikes us 3 times tonight, something fantastic's
Keep
going to
building
happen,
it.
right?
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for the staff of the petitioner?
Move to close.
Okay, we have a motion to close and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, the next petition is deferred, so we go to petition item number 36 for 2019-111 by High Fitness. Okay, Mr. Main,
That one is a deferred item.
it's deferred?
Yes.
You're right, I can barely read what's on this sheet.
It's 38
Okay,
next.
so it's 37?
37 is up.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
37.
Yeah, that's what I said, 37. 2019-112 by Mark Heslick for Princeton. Go ahead, Mr. Main.
This is a single-family lot. It's 0.33 acres located on Pinecrest Road, Pinecrest Avenue, and this is just off of Commonwealth Avenue. And the existing zoning is O2 office. It is a single-family house, looks like a single-family house, but it is zoned right now for office use, and the proposal is to take it to R4, single-family residential. This is located directly behind Repo Records, which is fronting on Commonwealth Avenue. And you can see that the zoning generally around it is R4. Even this B1 strip right here is single-family houses. The Independence Boulevard plan calls for 4 units per acre. Staff recommends approval of this petition. It is consistent with the land use, and it will return essentially this house to the land use that is and was in the plan.
All right, any questions?
No, Mayor Pro Tem Bejmera.
Any questions? All right.
Motion to close.
Motion, okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, next one. Petition number 38, 2019-116. Do you want to read on that? You want to read about that?
Sure.
38. So
And we need
All
your
right.
petition,
It's a rezoning petition, 2019-116 by Billy Graham Evangelistic Association, approximately 1.5 acres located on the north side of Billy Graham Parkway, east of Westmont Drive, and south of Woodridge Center Drive in Council District 3. The current zoning is R17 multifamily residential with the proposed zoning of I1 CD light industrial conditional. It doesn't look like we have any speakers in.
we have two speakers.
We have speakers in for, but nothing
against.
against. So you'll have 3 minutes, Mr. Maine.
All right. So this is 1.47 acres. It's on the north side of Billy Graham Parkway. So there's Billy Graham Parkway. If you're familiar with the area, here is the farmer's market down here across the way. This provides the main entrance as you come off of Billy Graham into the Billy Graham Library, which is just to the left of Westmont Drive there. To the north is a wastewater treatment plant. To the east, you come through a series of office buildings to the WCNC TV studios. Down this way. And this is a proposal for I-1 conditional rezoning. The area plan does call for office and residential and industrial land uses. The existing zoning is multifamily right now. The intent is to allow for cultural facilities, religious institutions, warehousing, research needs. It is essentially intended by Billy Graham Library as sort of storage for other things, but this will also open the door in the future for them to use it for other purposes related to the Billy Graham Library as well. There are a number of prohibited uses: outdoor storage, eating, drinking, and entertainment, shopping centers, personal services, and you can see the list there. It limits the number of buildings to 2. The access would be off of Woodridge Center Drive on this side, rather than this side, which would probably be a little more intense and difficult. There is a 6-foot sidewalk and 8-foot planting strip planned for the area. And the architectural standards include a variety of uses. Recommend approval for this. It is consistent with the Central District Plan. The site illustrates all those kinds of things and prohibits other uses that might be considered difficult.
Thank you. Ms. Grant? I didn't see Mr. Keith here.
He was unable to make it. Good evening, Mayor Lyles, members of council, members of the zoning committee. Thank you for your time this evening. I'm working with Jeff Brown and the Keith Corporation to represent the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association on this rezoning. Kent did a very thorough job, and he mentioned it's consistent with the adopted land use policy, staff supports, and there are no outstanding issues. So I'm here to answer any questions.
Are there any questions? Hearing none, do I have a motion to close public hearing?
Here to close.
Second.
Second, all in favor, aye. All right.
Aye.
Thank you. The next item is petition number 39, item 39, petition 2019-120 by Titan Partners. Mr. Patine.
All right, thank you, Madam Mayor. 2019-120 petition, as you mentioned, by Titan Partners. It's about 8.5 acres, just on the north side of Wilkinson Boulevard, bounded by Wilkinson and West Moorhead Street. in the area here of Settle Ave, West Moorhead, Berry Hill, Remount Road. The petition itself is currently zoned I-2 General Industrial. They are proposed to go to a TOD-CC district. The adopted future land use in the Bryant Park Land Use and Streetscape Plan does recommend a mix of office, retail, residential uses on the site. The site is also within less than a quarter mile from proposed future transit station for the CAT Silver Line. So in consideration of where those stops will be, I believe there's one at the Settle Ave area proposed and also one at Remount. So we'd have essentially 2 future transit stops for the Silver Line within close proximity to this site. We've had several Mud O rezonings in the vicinities. You can see on the zoning map, you've got several mud optionals. We had a few that aren't even reflected that have come in since then that are on this frontage here of West Moorhead Street. So we're seeing I guess, a redevelopment of this area as we found out more about the Silver Line in regard to Wilkinson Boulevard and some of the stops, and we had conversations about this petition, knowing that we're suggesting a mix of uses. TOD supports mixed-use type development. We have future stations that would be within very close proximity to this. Staff worked with the petitioner to recommend a TOD-CC district. We feel that would implement the mixed-use land use recommendation, as well as implement the future investment in the Silver Line and continue out the redevelopment of this area in the context of what we're already seeing through those mud optionals. So staff does recommend approval of this petition. It is consistent with the Bryant Park Land Use and Streetscape Plan, again, because of its proximity to the proposed Silver Line and within 2 stops that are in close proximity of it. We felt the TOD-CC was an appropriate district. This petition would revise that adopted future land use from that mixed-use recommendation to a TOD land use for the site. And again, staff does recommend approval and be happy to take any questions.
All right, Mr. McVeigh.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council, members of the Zoning Committee. Keith McVeigh, Assistant Titan Partners, LLC. I think Dave has covered everything we were going to cover in terms of consistency and implementing the future land use plan, as well as supporting the future transit extension along Wilkinson Boulevard of the Silver Line. Happy to answer any questions.
Before, are you here for a particular zoning item? Do you know which one?
Oh, that's, I think,
I don't have, oh, okay, I just wanted to make sure that we were not leaving you or we had missed you. So are there any questions for staff or Mr. McVeigh?
move to close.
Have a second on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the next petition is 40. Did you sign up to speak? Do you wish to speak?
We get a motion.
Well, we have to ask you to come down to the clerk's desk and sign in. So while the staff is talking, we'll get you signed in, and we'll have a follow-up. This is for petition 2019-121 by Jamario Rickenbacker. Bacher. All right? Dave,
All right.
Mr. Patine, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. 2019-121, just over 1 acre on West Boulevard and Nobles Ave, just a little bit in from Holabird Lane. The site currently is vacant. It is currently zoned B1CD, which is neighborhood business. It's a conditional zoning district. This petition is proposing to just take it to a conventional B1 zoning district. So again, we're looking at a CD removal and just go into a conventional B1 district. Adopted future land use for the area is recommended for retail land uses from the site. That's per the Central District Plan, which was adopted in '93. Staff does recommend approval of this petition. It is consistent with the retail land use recommendation. It's consistent with that. It's also, the site is already zoned for a convenience store, which is something that the petitioner did talk about as a potential use under that B1 CD zoning. Really the challenge with that CD zoning district is it's more tied to the parcel that's across West Boulevard here. It actually was a little convoluted on what the relationship was between the CD on the south side of West Boulevard is in comparison to the site that is being considered for rezoning this evening. But there was obviously some relationship to where that CD plan carried over to this area on West Boulevard. So again, we're also trying to clean up a little bit of what we found to be a bit of a convoluted scenario with the CD plan that was originally adopted and going to a B1 district, which would still support the land use plan and would leave behind a zoning district that was compatible with what the land use recommendations were per that adopted area plan. So again, staff does recommend approval. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
All right, you are for the petition?
Yeah, for the
If
petition.
you will give us your name, and then
my name is,
you have 3 minutes.
Jamaria Rickenbacker, and I bought the property a while ago from my uncle. He had the property since the 70s, and he had an idea for me to do. I have a salon now myself, and he wanted me to continue my business, so I'm thinking about building a salon on that property right there, and a gas station too. And I want to see the neighborhood improve, and it's a great neighborhood, and I want to see the improvement in the neighborhood. I want to kind of make it more modern and create jobs in the neighborhood as well.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for the petitioner or the staff?
Move to close.
We have a motion to close the public hearing. Thank you. Thank you for your patience and time. The staff recommends approval, so the zoning committee, if you weren't here, the zoning committee will meet on, Mr. Spencer?
Tuesday, December 3rd.
December 3rd, and then the decision will come back and the staff will notify you of that time. So that is our last petition for this evening. Do we have a motion to adjourn? I'm sorry, council, what?
Topics?
Yes, take a topic out to the council or something like that. All right, do we have a motion to adjourn? All in favor, say aye. Thank you very much.
Aye.
Thank you, ladies. Good to see you. Happy Thanksgiving if we don't see you.
Thank you for your
I guess
patience.
we've got the 25th if we see you.